All right, folks, we are live again on the Pangburn Universe Network. Today we're going to be talking about the recent, whatever you want to call it, Biden pardons Hunter Biden, his son, and Trump tariffs. What are tariffs? Do they even accomplish anything? We'll get into that today. I'm going to give you guys the link if you want to jump into the conversation. Everyone is welcome in the Pangburn Universe, so long as you engage in good faith, helpful discourse. What up, Ace? Welcome, welcome. Join the live discussion here. We're going to be getting into it, and probably by the end, we'll open it up a little bit into a more general conversation with an update of what Trump's been up to, but I think the tariffs are a good way to lead into that. Interesting. So Ace right off the bat says, I saw it coming since the election was called, but I think Biden did a good thing. So yeah, we're going to go through the what the responses have been here. So as we typically do here on Pangburn Live, we like to start with some information. So on the pardoning, President Joe Biden's decision on December 1st, 2024 to issue a full unconditional pardon to his son, Hunter Biden, has ignited a spectrum of reactions across the political landscape. Here were some Republican responses. Many Republicans have condemned the pardon, viewing it as a misuse of presidential authority and a sign of hypocrisy. House Oversight Chair James Comer and Senator John Barrasso criticized the move as evidence of a double standard in justice. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene labeled the Bidens as disgraceful liars, reflecting a broader sentiment among Republicans that the pardon undermines accountability. Within the Democratic Party, reactions are mixed. Some members, such as former Attorney General Eric Holder and Representative Sidney Kamlager Dove, that's a weird name, have defended the pardon, arguing that the charges against Hunter Biden were politically motivated and unjust. However, others, including Representative Jared Polis and Greg Stanton, have expressed frustration, suggesting that the pardon sets a harmful precedent and could erode public trust in the justice system. The media landscape reflects a divided public opinion. Some outlets and commentators accuse President Biden of placing family loyalty above national interest, thereby damaging his legacy and providing political ammunition to opponents. Conversely, others argue that the pardon was a necessary act to counter what they perceive as politically driven prosecutions against Hunter Biden. Internationally, the pardon has drawn attention, with some foreign media outlets highlighting the potential implications for the U.S. justice system and the perception of political favoritism. For instance, German publication Die Welt noted that the pardon could be seen as a violation of Biden's campaign promise to restore respect for the rule of law. In summary, President Biden's pardon of his son has sparked a complex array of responses, reflecting deep political divisions and raising questions about the balance between personal loyalty and adherence to legal principles. And this is a compilation of information that came from New York Magazine, Politico, Financial Times, U.S. News, Welt, Newsweek, the New Yorker, ABC News, Wall Street Journal, and a few other sources. And then I'm going to read a bit on the later topic where we're going to talk about Trump and tariffs today as well. Welcome everyone in the room who's joining us on YouTube. Please take a second to drop a like. If you're a fan of freedom of speech and you're a fan of good faith, helpful discourse, please hit that like button. And I'm glad you've come to join us today. So Since Trump's election victory in November 2024, Trump has been actively preparing for his upcoming term through key appointments and policy planning. Cabinet appointments. Trump has prioritized loyalty in his cabinet selections, appointing individuals such as Pam Bondi as Attorney General and Senator Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. He has also chosen Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence and Mike Huckabee as Ambassador to Israel. Additionally, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have been appointed to lead a new Department of Government Efficiency aiming to reduce federal spending. Policy initiatives. Trump plans to implement new tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China, effective on his first day in office, to address trade imbalances. He is also preparing to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, expanding drilling and mining on public lands, and dismantle offices working to end pollution. He's also been golfing, for anyone who's interested in his personal activities. So something on tariffs here. The imposition of tariffs often leads to increased costs for consumers in the imposing country, as businesses typically pass on the added costs of imported goods to consumers. Here's a breakdown of how tariffs might affect American consumers and the broader economy. Price increases for imported goods. When tariffs are placed on imports, the cost of goods rise. For example, if a tariff is placed on electronics from China, American retailers may increase prices to offset the additional costs, directly impacting consumers who purchase those products. Domestic production costs. Many American businesses rely on imported materials to produce goods domestically. Tariffs on these materials increase production costs, leading to higher prices for the final products. Example, steel tariffs could raise costs for American car manufacturers, resulting in more expensive cars. Potential benefits for domestic producers. Tariffs are often designed to protect domestic industries by making imported goods less competitive. This can encourage consumers to buy domestic products, lead to job growth or stabilization in industries competing with imports. However, if domestic producers raise their prices due to reduced competition, consumers might not see savings. Retaliatory tariffs. Other countries may respond with tariffs on American goods, reducing demand for U.S. exports. This can hurt industries like agriculture, manufacturing, leading to lower incomes for American producers, potential job loss in export-dependent sectors. Economic debate. Economists often debate the long-term effects. So proponents argue tariffs can rebuild domestic industries and reduce dependency on foreign goods. Critics suggest they are a hidden tax on consumers and can lead to inefficient resource allocation, higher inflation, and slower economic growth. So we are going to start with the Biden pardon first and get people's opinions here. We have a nice start to our room here tonight. Welcome everyone who's on Discord, and everyone who wants to join our Discord community, please just use this link. I'll give it to you guys again, and you can come in and have your say live on the air. And thank you all again for being here. And just a reminder to smash that like button. It really helps out the stream. Who wants to go first? Who has an opinion on the Hunter Biden pardon?
Yeah. Can I go after you, Goody?
Sure. I just wanted to, my opinion is, I don't know everything about, I know Hunter Biden was in for gun mismanagement and taxes late, I think, but I think that while it wasn't the right thing to do and it might set a bad precedent, I think that it's also that even if this is a bad precedent, it's not going to influence Trump because Trump's going to do whatever he wants. So I think this is kind of just a case of people saying it's something, but even regardless of if it is or isn't, what Trump was going to do is going to be the same. So that, if that makes any sense.
I think that's a solid point. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah. One thing that like we've been bitching about for like FFL owners, people that sell guns for a living, is like the whole Biden thing getting convicted for lying on a federal form, because that's what he got convicted of. He got convicted of checking no on a box that he should have checked yes for because he's a habitual user of drugs. The issue with that is that everyone who lives in a state where weed is legal is marking no on that, despite them smoking weed. Well, if they smoke weed, because it's federally illegal, they should still be putting yes and still be denied to own a firearm. But many people aren't doing that. So if we're going to arrest Biden for putting no where he should have put yes, we should be, probably arresting millions of Americans. For me, it was a bad precedent
Or Trump.
to. Sorry?
Or arresting Trump.
I don't know how that goes into a 4473.
No, I'm not talking about the specific crime. I'm talking about like holding people accountable for crimes in general. But that's going to happen after this current reign. But anyways, continue.
But particularly, it's one of those things that the feds have kind of stayed out of in general, because like the feds are like, we're going to leave alone these people. But now the whole Hunter Biden conviction kind of opened up this idea that the feds are going to start prosecuting people over this, even if it's just political. And I don't think people should be doing political prosecutions. I think we should uphold the law or just stop enforcing the law entirely. And I thought it was stupid. And I thought it was even dumber that Biden said he wasn't going to pardon his child and then did it anyways. That's just so completely ridiculous. As for the embezzling thing, like, it's so crazy to me that your son can use you in one way or another indirectly to get money off of your name, get convicted of doing it wrongly, and then you can pardon him. I don't even think that should be legal. That's crazy to me. But he's a lame duck president, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants, apparently.
So, okay, and on the pardon itself, the point of that he, let's say, changed his mind, do you find that like quite absurd that like a president would say, I'm not going to pardon my son, but then he changes his mind and then pardons him? That, I mean, people change their mind, right? But you think that one's a big issue to change your mind on? Did we lose CJ? Oh, we did. I'm sure he'll be back. He might have got disconnected.
I mean, I don't think he struggled with it. I think he was going based off of the outcome of the election. I think he was going to do it anyway.
Right. That's what it seems like. Yeah. Like protecting his son from whatever kind of witch hunt might be coming his way with the new administration. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Does anyone think the pardon is like the good right thing to do here that Biden did, and you would do it yourself if you were in that situation? Is anyone in that camp? Because I think it. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's one of those things where, like, your morality tells you, no, I wouldn't do that. I would let the justice system do his thing. But if you are in Biden's position and your son has been convicted, it's kind of one of those more personal things where you just can't really know unless you're the one in the position.
Yeah, I mean, well, kind of the question that everyone can think about is if you were president, this was your son, and you know that he had been, found guilty of certain things already, but there could be, further like witch hunty type things that are kind of created to basically continue to fuck up someone's life. You might just pardon your son and be like, yeah, I'll take the hit on my reputation. I'm an old man on my way out. I'm going to take this opportunity to protect my son from any further inquiry. I think most people are gonna do that. I really do. What do you think, Star?
I think that as a moderate, I think that both sides were using litigious abuse in a way where they were slinging so much mud at each other that it's hard to decipher which legal stuff was true and which wasn't and how much of it was this or that. I honestly, when it came to the Hunter Biden stuff, with all of the dramas, like it was part of Real World on MTV or something. It just got to the point I didn't know which stuff was facts and which stuff was made up. And it was happening on both sides and it was overwhelming. And I honestly don't know what to think about the Hunter Biden issue because I don't even know how much of it's true and how much of it was slinging mud. And both sides were doing it.
Star, I'm going to give you the Department of Justice stuff right now because it's important for this conversation. So Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden, faced legal challenges in 2024, resulting in convictions for both firearm and tax offenses. So the firearm conviction charges in trial in June 2024, Hunter Biden was tried on 3 felony counts related to the illegal purchase and possession of a firearm in 2018. Prosecutors argued that he falsely denied drug use on a federal form during the gun purchase. The trial concluded on June 11th, 2024, with the guilty verdict on all counts. Sentencing for the firearm convictions was scheduled for November 13th, 2024. Tax evasion convictions, charges and plea. Separately, Hunter Biden faced 9 federal tax charges, including 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors, for failing to pay over $1.4 million in taxes between 2016 and 2019. On September 5th, 2024, he pled guilty to all charges without a plea agreement. Sentencing for the tax offenses was set for December 16th, coming up, 2024. And then on December 1st, 2024, President Joe Biden granted Hunter Biden a full and unconditional pardon for all of these offenses and any other alleged crimes from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. The president cited selective and political nature of the charges as the rationale for this decision. So yeah, that was it. Was the tax evasion convictions, which he was found guilty of 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors, and then the illegal firearm. Was trying 3 felony counts for the illegal firearm. So now he's no longer a felon, right? By U.S. law.
Well, I don't know. There's lots of people with illegal firearms. I'm pretty sure that I know nothing. I know nothing about people who have those things. That being said, I don't. I'm like the Hunter Biden laptop stuff and all of that stuff. Like, whatever happened with that? Because I literally turned off like all that shit was weird.
Yeah.
So the whole Ukraine conspiracy and oligarchs and laptops and
yeah. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Since we're talking about Hunter Biden, I might as well do the facts on this in case this comes up again. So we make sure we got the thing. So the Hunter Biden laptop controversy centers on a laptop allegedly belonging to Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden, which was reportedly abandoned at a Delaware computer repair shop in 2019. The laptop's contents have been the subject of extensive media coverage, political debate, and legal scrutiny. Discovery initial reporting in October 2020, the New York Post published articles claiming that emails from the laptop indicated Hunter Biden had facilitated a meeting between his father, then Vice President Joe Biden, and a Ukrainian businessman. The Biden campaign denied such a meeting occurred. Authenticity and verification. Initial skepticism surrounded the laptop's authenticity with concerns about potential foreign interference. However, subsequent forensic analysis by media outlets like CBS News found no evidence of tampering, suggesting the data was genuine. So legal proceedings. The laptop's contents became evidence in legal case against Hunter Biden, including tax evasion and firearm charges. In June 2024, during a firearms trial, FBI agents testified to the laptop's authenticity, confirming that data from the device matched information from Hunter Biden's Apple account. Someone's bleeding in. CJ, your mic's bleeding in. Political implication. The controversy has been a focal point in political discourse, which debates over media coverages and allegations of censorship. Social media platforms face criticism for limiting the spread of the initial New York Post story, citing policies against sharing hacked materials. Recent developments in December 2024, President Joe Biden the Hunter Biden laptop controversy continues to be a complex issue, intertwining legal proceedings, political debates, and discussions about media ethics. So, yeah, I mean, so far, I don't think anything has been found relating to the initial claims of political interference. And, I don't think there's been any substantiation of those claims. We went through this a couple episodes ago as well. So, I think it is kind of a BS, a bunch of BS. But anyway, so who else has an opinion on the Hunter Biden pardon? Do you think it's fair, unfair?
I just had one little nuance. The firearms he had weren't illegal. It was just like the way he went about buying them, because he was a prohibited person technically.
Right. So the 3 felony counts that we just read through were related to illegal purchase and possession of a firearm. Not that the firearms were themselves illegal. So.
Well, I guess my response is, after listening to all of that and understand that I don't like it from either sides, I think it's bullshit. But that being said, if he were anyone else's kid and this stuff would have happened, they wouldn't have been pardoned. He wouldn't have gotten away with it. But there's another side to that, which is, like, what if they went and persecuted him to the extreme, to the extent they did?
Yeah.
If he weren't Biden's son. And so there's kind of this double-edged sword, because they are being put as bugs under microscopes and completely scrutinized if you are a family member of a president or something like this. And this is someone with a drug addiction. We all know people who have struggled and fought with this, who may have a gun that isn't exactly legal or something like that. And I'm not saying that they should get away with crimes. But I'm also saying it pretty much sucks when you go and say, oh, you are the family member of a leader, and therefore we have to persecute you more so than everyone else. I don't think he should get away with it. But I also don't think it's fair how much scrutiny people are put under and how much they're expected to be. I think it's a double-edged thing, I guess, is my thing. So I don't know what to think about it, because if he weren't the son of the president, would have it even been this big of a deal, or would have it been a slap on the wrist?
Yeah. Well, the one thing I'll look at next is like what the typical sentencing looks like for the kind of crimes Hunter Biden committed. But I think it's important what you said, Star, about looking at the side of this. Family members can be used politically through prosecution, and I think that is the opinion of Biden and why he did this. That's his current justification, that he was getting
oh, boo-hoo, cry me a river.
Yeah, exactly. So like the other side to that is like, okay, show me the actual evidence that there was some kind of political bastardization of the judicial system that was happening. And then if it wasn't, then it's just a man with power saving his son from doing the time for his crimes after he had actually been convicted. So we know Hunter Biden was guilty of these crimes. This was found, but he has escaped, some jail time, and now he's not. My understanding is he's not even listed as a felon by U.S. standards, so it won't affect his travel or anything like that.
It should have been me.
And feel free to unmute anyone who has an opinion on this. Do you think, and also we can talk about, do you think presidents should have this power? Like, why? Like, it is true that, like, when you vote someone into the highest position of power in office, you are saying that they basically have the judgment to make the
Well, it's left over from the monarchy.
Well,
it's left over from feudal monarchy.
They have the ability to start a nuclear war, right?
They have the ability to start a nuclear war and give literally anyone they want judicial impunity just by retroactively, pardoning them. And in some cases, that can be really important for protecting whistleblowers or, getting people out of weird judicial cases. But in cases where they're pardoning their friends and their families, it's obvious bullshit, and they should not have the power to do that.
Gerald R. Ford.
Yeah, I mean, it might make sense from like a fairness perspective to, you can't pardon family members, right? That's, I don't know. It looks like Spiderface unmuted. What do you got, Spider?
I think the whole purpose of being able to achieve a position of power is to be able to self-serve yourself. And not only to self-serve yourself, but you're in the position of power is to be able to help your friends and family. I don't see nothing wrong with him pardoning his son, because I think every single father would have done the same exact thing for their son if they were in trouble and if they were in a position of power.
I think that's descriptively, probably very true. This is obvious. This is speculation. We can pull up statistics on the likelihood and try to draw some lines to the likelihood of another father or mother making the similar decision. But it does seem coherent what you're saying, that many people, they would see their child in this situation, and okay, they've already been convicted. Now they're going to be sentenced. What is the sentence going to look like? And then they just say, well, and then they look at their age. They're like, okay, what can I do for my son here to help get him back on the right track? And he did it. And, would I do the same thing? I want to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. And I'm in a position of power like that. Man, it would be tough not to. It would be hard not to.
Especially if you feel like your kid was being persecuted because of your job. Like, you wouldn't have been in that situation so much.
No,
yeah, but
no sympathy.
That's a lot to put on a
sympathy.
parent.
That is a horrendous view to take. I find that horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the 4473 thing is one thing, but he was embezzling money and shit. You can't do that. I don't give a fuck who you are.
I didn't hear that thing. He's embezzling.
Let's see this.
I'm sorry.
What was it, Travis? Was it taxes or embezzling?
No, it was tax fraud. It wasn't embezzlement.
Tax fraud.
Yeah.
Okay, tax fraud. I don't know. I think, for me, it's I understand both sides of the argument. And it's just kind of there are going to be times where, because I'm sorry, did we not all witness all of the political leaders getting in all this litigiousness that never used to be a thing in the past, but now is a thing where they go and try to weaponize the court systems against politicians for their own political gain? Are we not witnessing that? Didn't I see that with RFK Jr.? And so I'm just saying, it kind of sucks. So I see both sides. No, I don't think that rich people should get a get out of jail free card. But when they are being judged based on being a rich person's kid, it opens up another can of worms.
That's the thing, Star. I haven't seen any evidence that he has been judged in the way he was judged in court because he's a rich person's kid. I think that I believe, my current belief is that the convictions are correct. But the sentencing, so here's the thing. The sentencing might have been what Biden's worried about, that okay, they're going to make an example out of this politician's son, the president's son, because he's the president's son. And I don't know if he had any evidence to justify believing this, but they're going to give him the max. So instead of giving him what a lot of legal experts are saying would be the combined sentence of 8 years, in prison, they would go for, okay, the max potential is for the firearms conviction is 10 years is basically the max potential. And then the felony tax offenses carry a max of 5 years. So maybe he's saying it could be the case that if Biden knew that he was going to get like a few years in prison, maybe Biden wouldn't have done it, right? And again, we're all speculating here, but it's fun to speculate sometimes. But if it's 15 years, aren't you going to reach out and save your son from a potential 15-year sentence if you have the power? That's the question here. So sentencing might be the big question or the big factor. Because we're not talking a small amount of time here. Like he could have got 15 fucking years in prison.
I also just don't buy this idea that he wouldn't have been charged for tax fraud if he wasn't Hunter Biden's son. The IRS notoriously fucks everyone over. If you don't do your taxes, chances, especially if it's a high amount, they're gonna find you. The 4473 stuff, yeah, that's obviously politically motivated bullshit. I mean, technically he broke the law. Technically, whatever. But the tax stuff, he would have gotten hit with that anyway. And this whole idea, well, it's valid to pardon your son because the only reason he got convicted is because, political motivations. Maybe if that was true, but it seems to me he actually did the tax evasion. He actually lied on a 4473. He actually did these things.
Yeah, he did.
And also, you shouldn't be pardoning your son. It's just, you shouldn't be using that power. If I was the president and I had the power to pardon my son, I'd probably do it too. But that's why you don't give me the power to do that, right?
Well,
that's why I don't want the power either, because I would want to, they screwed up, let me help save them kind of thing, especially if you're a parent. But I don't know. Like I said, it literally depends on the motivations and whether or not he was being unjustifiably gone after, whether or not which side of the fence I would be on.
So now
it would be
you guys,
whether or not it was there.
Our friend on YouTube, Rag3305, says, was Trump politically convicted? So we're going to get into this pissing match of once we start saying because it happened to the president's son, I'm just going to assume there was a political motivation there. For me, what I care about is do we have evidence of political motivation? Same when it goes for Trump. If some hardcore Trumper comes to me and be like, this is all politics, man. Those 34 felonies, he didn't do it. And then I'm like, nah, he was found to have done it in court. The judicial
of course
process.
It's politically motivated.
What's that?
Of course it's politically motivated. That's the only time it ever happens.
34
That's
felonies.
the only time it ever happens for these people.
No, but I care about whether Trump actually committed the 34 felonies, which he did. I'm sure we all care about that, what the facts are. I'm saying the facts matter to me, if there is,
except no, I would say they don't. The facts don't matter.
No, to me,
the facts don't matter. This is politically motivated, and that's the only time these people ever get the book thrown at them. Is when
you're talking about rich
is when their opponents get mad enough with them to go after them. It has always been this way.
Yeah, but it's not about throwing the book. Felony charges of a sexual nature are these are crimes, right? And it's you could say the reason why Trump's being held accountable is because he was running for president. One could say that. You could say that about any public figure who's ever been, convicted for crimes, I suppose. But I mean, I care about what's factually the case, and so in the same with.
If we cared about facts, then I don't believe there is a single person in Washington who shouldn't be thrown in a deep dark cell and the key thrown away.
No,
amen.
No.
That is such ridiculous.
No information. There are so many beautiful.
That is such ridiculous statements to make. That's like saying, oh, you're a politician, you are in a position of power, you're automatically a criminal.
Yeah,
the facts are exactly what matter, because there's plenty of people who just don't deserve to go to prison because they haven't broken the law.
Look, honestly, I'm so tired of this argument about how you guys are trying to make the right and the left the same. They're not even close to being the same. We have one committing multiple felonies, and we have another one with tax evasion. I mean, come on. These aren't even the same.
Nobody said they're the same.
Oh, my God.
We're talking about...
No Democrat ever committed a felony ever. Thank you.
Wait.
What? Who said?
Wait,
Stop.
Ace. Nobody has equivocated
joke.
these crimes.
He's
We're
mad
talking-
because the moderate
Hang
came in
on,
the
Star.
room and went, "What about RFK?"
Hang on, Star.
Like-
RF. We can pull up the RFK thing, but I'm pretty sure we demonstrated that to be bullshit during another stream. But
Menendez.
But Ace, we were not saying that these crimes are equivalent. Nobody was saying that. I'm saying that when it comes to the judicial process, I care about the facts. That's all I'm saying. And I would argue that everyone should care about the facts of what actually occurred if a crime was actually committed. And that's what I want the judicial process to be. I don't want people to, just start convicting people based on, oh, you're trying to move in on my political ground, so we're going to find something to convict you on. I don't want it to be that. That's all I'm saying.
And I 100% agree with that.
Okay.
My whole issue, though, is that what's happening in the chat is that they're trying to equivalate both sides when it's not even close in my head.
Look, 34.
Vast
Yeah, of course.
differences.
One it's the president himself, and Trump also pardoned. I think Jared's dad, his daughter's father-in-law. He also pardoned him. So Trump is this is what he does.
Yeah.
The question is, should the president pardon his son? No, I don't think the president should have pardoned his son. I think it's a bad look in general.
Nobody in the
we
chat
talked about-
has
Trump
been
would
tweeting that
pardon Diddy.
Trump is better. I'm more than happy to throw them all in jail.
Well, they're not.
Let me weigh in real
Okay,
quick.
well, I don't. Maybe that's what Ace is responding to. That to equivocate crimes and to just commit people of crimes because they're a politician, I think is a horrible idea. But that's just me. I think.
No, they're making the laws. They benefit from this system. They're powerful.
So
They're
do
rich.
you.
Yeah, I hold them more accountable than the average citizen.
You benefit.
You bet I do.
You benefit from this system right
Anarchy.
now.
Based.
You benefit from this system.
But they are held to a higher account. There are laws in the books that hold them to higher accounts than you and I do.
Yes.
Which is
But they
bullshit
did.
because that's actually not
The
how it works.
family.
Presidents have a specific immunity that is granted to them. Congress members have immunity. Hell, even cops have qualified immunity. It's just bullshit that, they're held to a higher standard. Yeah, they have to show their taxes every once in a while, but apparently now the president can do literally whatever he wants as long as he calls it an official action. It's so stupid. No, they are not held to a higher account. They are given so many protections, and at this point, we need to stop giving them these protections.
So Don.
Supreme Court isn't held to a higher account.
Oh, say that again, F. I missed that.
The Supreme Court isn't held to a higher account. They're supposed to police themselves. It's a joke.
Well, yeah, but
Dear Jesus.
at some level in democracy and in judicial process, you do need judges, right?
I never said you don't.
Yeah, but the judicial there are judges can be disbarred, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, judges are not safe from, that I can do what I want because I'm a judge now, but their judicial opinion is very, very protected. If their opinion is just bogus, it's no, I think aliens did this. It's hard based on just their judge's opinion to get them disbarred. But if they do they're committing lewd acts with children or something like that and they get busted, they're fucked just like anyone else.
I mean, but to be fair, which of the justices was it? Clarence Thomas has literally a wall made of pornographic material at his house, and he would have interns over and give speeches in front of it. So kind of weird.
Okay, now
Did that actually
that-
happen?
okay,
that actually happened. Dude has some issues. He used to, I guess, at his law firm that he worked at, he used to go in and his hobby was talking about porn stars and stuff. So
Real quick, Travis, you want to make a bet on whether or not Trump is going to pardon Matt Gaetz if anything comes out?
Oh,
Who the hell is Matt? Oh, that guy.
I think Trump's a horrible bet when it comes to anything because he's just he's an unpredictable criminal mind in my opinion, and that's very hard to predict.
Well, we know you in Criminal Minds.
I mean, in the case of like most like attorneys can't represent their children or their children's friends. Judges can't be a part of their children doing anything.
Yeah.
So why would we allow for the powers that be to have the powers that we don't allow the vast majority of people to wield? Like, why would we allow them to wield that?
Yeah.
Can we all just agree that positions of power sometimes breeds corruption on a massive scale?
I mean,
and
yeah, obviously.
And it happens quite often, and so we kind of expect these people in power to be jackasses.
It doesn't happen quite often. It's an overgeneralization fallacy that people make with politicians all the time. There are thousands upon thousands of politicians on this planet, and political crimes are not as common as people think. It's an overgeneralization fallacy. It happens with politicians in particular all the time.
I wasn't talking about necessarily, I'm talking about just corrupt, and not all of them get I don't know. How many of them do you think are making background deals, going and lining their pockets for their own benefit and stuff like that, and making laws because corporations are lining their corporate oligarchies feeding them, basically. I don't know.
I think we have to be careful from being so general and just like saying them, they, this is happening, the oligarchs are. Let me finish speaking. It becomes a little bit like disconnected from the facts. If we have a claim, if we have an accusation, we have to back that up no matter what it is. And there are instances of corruption. There are instances of people lining each other's pockets. And we can look at what that looks like. There are FOIA laws, FOIA requests, Information Act, which kind of can get into these government buildings. We can look at what they're doing. We can try to. There has been attempts to do that in the past. But to just make broad generalization, I think is lazy. It's lazy.
I'm being lazy. But that being said, what I was trying to say is, as I think sometimes in the highest forms of government, quite often, more so than we want to admit, that people are lining their pockets with background deals that serve their own self-interest above the people they're supposed to serve.
I also wanted to say one thing about the political discourse around politicians and whether they're bad or not. There's also the phenomena of the politician will do something that they're completely allowed to do by law. They're completely allowed to do, and they'll like make some money or something. And people will automatically say, see, this guy's corrupt. Well, corrupt based on what? Your own standard? And should they care about your own standard of corruption based on what the law tells them they can and cannot do? So when people say corruption, I try to hold them accountable to like, okay, well, what law did they break? Because ultimately that does matter. It should matter when we're judging whether someone is corrupt in the sense of, corrupting the political system. We should care about that. But if you have a problem with legislation or laws, if you think there should be more laws, don't put that on the shoulders of politicians who are law abiding. It's
to that point, like we're mostly in agreement that we shouldn't be pardoning people, that people should be held accountable to things. I am a father. If my daughter had done something like that, would I pardon her? I'd like to believe that I could hold to my own ethical standards and believe that if society has agreed that this is the punishment, that I would allow that punishment to happen.
Yeah.
But if the punishment emotionally, right, felt like it actually fit the crime, where tax evasion, not 15 years, but if it was like, 3 years, like if it was a significantly reduced sentence, would people feel significantly more willing to allow for that punishment?
Well, this is what we just talked about, right? Because this is what Biden's faced with. Potentially 15 years for his son. Biden's about to leave office. I really think that everyone in this room, if they were in that position, because they don't know if it's going to be a 15-year sentence or a 3-year sentence. 3 years you can live with, and you might be like, yep, my child deserves that. But if they think that there's so much political heat on this that for some reason they might go for the maximum. I think it's really important to consider that as a father of your child. And
it's like if you can't have 100% certainty.
Well, yeah. And you'll never have that, but I think as a it's also important what the crime is, right? If your child was convicted of obviously like murder wouldn't be going through this same process, right? Like, but if it was like an assault on multiple women and the evidence was clear and your son was convicted on those assaults, you might feel more inclined to be like, no, you know what, you're going to pay the price. And if it's 15 years, it's 15 years. Don't assault women, motherfucker.
I want to say yes, but the power of cognitive dissonance when talking with parents of children that have committed serial killing. They're like, no, avid, my kid never.
I take in like probably, I want to say maybe 15 hours or more per week listening to true crime court cases and interrogations. And I know exactly what you mean. It is amazing how strong that bond is to want to somehow downplay, mitigate consequences and that of your child. And it's a very strong phenomena.
Absolutely. But again, if the judicial system, or at least we call it the correctional rehab department, like, if it was actually rehabilitation focused and if we had like a Norwegian model of jurisprudence in our system, then no punishments over 20 years and everyone is getting mandatory therapy, would parents have less cognitive dissonance around their child's punishment and their actions if they knew that the kid was going to go and actually receive help? Yeah. And it was going to be for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. It is a fine line in the criminal justice world to think, and when considering rehabilitation, like some of these sentence lengths are just like, okay, well, is there really a difference between 10 and 15 years? What is considered a substantial amount of time locked up in some fields of study, it's like 5 years can seem like an eternity to some people who are locked up. And if you examine your own life, imagine what you've done in 5 years in your own life, and imagine if all of that time was spent behind bars. Like it's a big one.
I've worked with clients who were in prison for 35 years. For double homicide. They were 21 when they went in, but coming out in your late 50s, just
I want to say, we'll get to Kananaman in just a second. Just want to say hello to everyone on YouTube. Make sure you drop a like on our stream. We really appreciate it if you do. If you want to join the conversation that's going on right now. What happened to my pinned comment? I forgot to pin it. That sucks. I'll write a new one. I'm going to give you guys the link to our Discord server. This is where we're all chatting over voice and video right now. You don't have to use video when you're on here. Most people don't. So join the live discussion here. And you guys can just click this link and get connected to the room, and we'll talk you through the controls if you're new to Discord. Go ahead, Kananaman.
Well, I just wanted to kind of steer the conversation back and answer a question that you had brought up earlier, and that was, should a pardon even be a power afforded to a president? And I wanted to bring up the case of John Arthur Jack Johnson. He was convicted of a violation of the Mann Act. Now, I don't expect a lot of people to know what that is, but he was convicted by an all-white jury in 1913 for traveling with his white girlfriend. It was then illegal to transport women across state lines for, quote, immoral purposes. So this man was convicted of being black with a white lady in his presence.
Oh dear Jesus.
And now I'm not a Trump fan, but that was a Trump pardon. And I think that is what the pardons were actually meant to do, is right the wrongs done in our justice system. I don't know if we can apply that to Hunter. I don't know if that's fair, but I think I'm with every other father that's on this panel. If it was my kid, I'd have done it.
Yeah.
I
think,
I just want to say thank you, Trump.
What? Sorry? Go ahead, Star.
Sorry.
What?
I just want to say, like, we always shit on Trump whenever possible. I think it's great that Candyman did that, and we recognize that the good too. Thank you very much, Trump, for fucking righting a wrong. That man should have never been in prison. I'm glad he's out. And so,
I mean, are those actually the facts of the case, though? We'd have to look that up. But if those are the facts of the case, then that's a good thing. But even if those were the exact facts and it was his son, I'd still say it's a bad thing for him to pardon him in that case. Now, I'm kind of for pardoning Hunter Biden. I don't think he really did anything worthy of jail time. But, it's the whole son thing that hooks me up. But I do think pardons exist to kind of right wrongs in that way.
So what was the
rehab?
Canada Man, what was the name of the person here? The convicted?
John Arthur, with a nickname Jack Johnson. He was pardoned on May 24th of 18 from the Northern District of Illinois. He was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison and $1,000 fine. So, he had obviously served out his sentence and probably isn't even alive right now.
Oh, yeah.
But this man's legacy was tainted.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. So this was, okay. Yeah. I mean, he was convicted in 1913 under the Mann Act. So this was back in 1913 when he was convicted, when, the United States was much more racist than it is now. Right. So prohibiting the transportation of women across state lines for immoral purposes in a case widely regarded as racially motivated. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the details were right. On May 24th, 2018, President Donald Trump granted a posthumous pardon to Johnson, acknowledging the historical injustice. The pardon was influenced by advocacy from various individuals, including actor Sylvester Stallone, and received bipartisan support. Yeah, so yeah, this is a great. It's a great thing to right historical wrongs, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with
that
this,
made me
and it's the right thing to do.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I like the story. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you.
Well, sure. I'm no fan of Trump, but I do like to think that I can give credit where credit's due, even to an individual I don't think deserves it.
And it's relevant.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think that deserves any credit at all. You guys are making a big deal that he did something political just to ease everyone's tensions. This only happened because there was a big online movement that got this going in the first place.
Well let's
Okay.
Good job pardoning someone, 80 years after they died. Who gives a fuck?
It reminds me of the good old trope of it's not news when people are walking when there are cows at a farm, but it's news when there are cows at Times Square. And it's like, oh, Trump did something good, and everyone's like, wow, he did something good. I think that's a real indictment of Trump as a person, as opposed to I think it's what Ace brought up is a good point, that everyone's also like Trump did something good. Well, he usually does something bad, so it's kind of news when there are cows at Times Square.
Now to Ace's point here, I think there's some things to consider. Why did Donald Trump do this? Do you guys think Donald Trump was like flipping through a book through history and being like, oh, I have found something that is wrong and it needs to be overturned?
No, so he just said why it happened.
No, well, hang on. Advocacy from prominent individuals was a big factor, and Sylvester Stallone was one of them. he was a major catalyst. Stallone personally brought Johnson's story to Trump's attention, emphasizing the racial injustice for his conviction, advocating for the pardon as a way to honor Johnson's legacy. Other notable advocates, including members of Congress, civil rights organizations, and celebrities who pushed for years to secure a pardon for Johnson. Now, something I want to, since we're talking about pardons, I want to know who turned down this pardon in history next is what I want to know. So, okay, there was bipartisan support, symbolic act of reconciliation by granting the pardon. Okay, during the pardon ceremony, Trump noted the racially charged context of the time and expressed that the act was intended to right historical wrong. Okay, good. Trump's interest in high-profile pardons. Trump has shown a willingness to engage in high-profile and symbolic pardons during his presidency. Many politicians would, often citing the importance of public interest and advocacy. The pardon of Jack Johnson fit within this pattern. Yeah, so there was this public push. It's true, but I do think it's a bit cynical to say that we're inside Trump's mind and the only reason why he did it was because it might look good to people. Like we don't have access to Trump's mind to really say that. But what we can say is that, there was, this was a popular thing to do. And if we know Trump's nature and the evidence of his nature, we know he likes to do popular things. So now I want to know did any other president turn this pardon down?
I mean,
I'll say that Sylvester Stallone at the time was proposing a movie about him because he was a boxer that Sylvester Stallone wants to be in.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. So George W. Bush
and Sylvester Stallone is a major Republican donor.
So Bush said no.
And so advocates began a strong push during the Bush administration, including efforts led by Senators John McCain and Orrin Hatch. Despite bipartisan support, the Bush administration did not grant the pardon. It is believed that the administration may have been hesitant to issue a pardon for a case involving racial and historical complexities. And then Barack Obama in 2009 to 2017, advocacy continued during President Obama's tenure with significant bipartisan backing from Congress. Despite Obama's use of clemency for many individuals during his presidency, the pardon for Jack Johnson was not granted. The Obama administration reportedly preferred focusing on clemency for living individuals with current injustices rather than historical cases. However, no formal reason was provided for the decisions. Yeah, I don't think that would be a stupid decision to give. No, we're focusing on clemency. You can do both things. So, very interesting.
And I just want to say, like, it doesn't matter if he pardoned every single black person in prison right now. It doesn't make him like a supporter of black people or a lover of black people. He obviously just did this because it was from a populist perspective, right? Nobody in this day and age is going to get mad at that, other than literal KKK racists.
But hang on.
And the way
when you say he obviously did it for these, he also could have thought that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, but he probably didn't. I mean, we don't see Trump. We don't see Trump doing.
Why do you say?
Because we don't see Trump. Huh?
I can have bad faith about the left side politicians whenever they do something good, and I can also say, oh well, they just did it for show. I can do the same thing.
I agree. They're doing a lot of that stuff, the popular stuff too. But the reason I say that specifically about Trump is because consistently we see him make populist decisions, not decisions based on their merit. And when he does make decisions that he is making value judgments and merit judgments, they're almost always shitty, stupid ones, like the one he got sued over for not letting black people in his hotels.
It's a fair argument, CJ. I just think it belongs in the realm of speculation. As long as we're
you're right. You're right.
I agree.
I'm just the moderate in the room. I don't even like Trump that much, but at the same time, I feel like I need to defend him because
nobody needs to defend Trump.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why.
Whatever the case is, I just think that occasionally human beings are human and they have their good and their bad natures and they have their good and their bad aspects. And when you see someone do something good, it's okay to say that's good. I'm glad they did a good thing. It doesn't just mean they're negative.
That 1 out of 100 people are psychopaths.
Wait,
Yeah,
let's
you
get
can
Ace
call
on.
it whatever you want, Ace.
I couldn't hear Ace.
Star,
Ace,
it's not my fault that it's not my fault that when I criticize the evil person that you said is an evil person and the racist person that you're like, oh, let me go defend them. Not my fault. If you want to go defend the evil racist, that's on you. But I'm still
You can
I'm
call
still
him
gonna
an
criticize
evil
him for being
racist
an
all you
evil
want. I
racist.
understand that I'm defending a narcissist. I get that, but at the same time, I also see a human being who does do good things, and 50% of the population considered your side more evil.
Yeah,
and all I'm saying is the same thing could be done if I go and walk into a Republican Discord where you go and you say something nice about your candidate and everyone shits on them. The same thing can be done, and that's all I'm saying. As a moderate, I get shit on both sides all the time, and I'm just like, can we not just be like, Candyman just told us a nice story and it was lovely?
No, but I think
Candyman... It totally takes out the purpose of the whole story. Yeah. That totally takes away what we're trying to get at here and everything. This is... The difference we have here is that we're actually dealing in facts here. We're dealing with what actually happened. That's not the same case in the Republican circles, okay? Also, we're looking at this pretty clearly right now, okay? What did he do? What has been the history of Trump? The history of Trump's very clear. We know exactly what kind of person he is. But all of a sudden now he decides to pardon someone he's never even heard of before? And you're trying to make that seem like he did something good? I don't know.
He did it the last time he was a president, and that was when Bush said no, Obama said no, everyone said no because he's dead and it doesn't matter. And the guy's like, man, he deserves to have his name clean. Sure, I'll do it. Whatever the motivations are, whether it's for publicity reasons or whatever, it's still a good thing this was finally righted.
Yeah, I think there is
but one good deed does not mess up everything else.
Wait, go ahead.
And intent really does matter when you do things.
Mama, Mama, I couldn't hear what you said. Can you go again, please?
I said one good deed doesn't erase all the other bullshit he's done.
Yeah, I don't think
anyone said that.
Yeah, I don't think Starr was making that claim. But what I'm hearing is I think everyone in the room seems to be good with that particular pardon, but the reasons for doing it are in question and
yes.
up for reasonable scrutiny here, because we are talking about Donald Trump, the guy that really likes to seem to do whatever he can to get attention and applause. So, okay.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, and Starr, being the detractor and like devil's advocate for someone that appears to be being dogpiled is like normal human reaction. Like, somebody please defend this person. But when someone has been doing evil things for a really long time.
Yeah, like, oh, let's go defend Matt Gaetz or what's that left-leaning Speaker of the House?
Well, the thing is I always, and I continue to say this, feel like I had a choice between cat shit and dog shit. You guys keep on talking like one side is so amazing.
We're not, you guys. Let's
and
not.
All I'm saying is that these are like both parties, both sides have assholes who do horrible shit. Every once in a while, you get to go and you get to look at something pretty, a little gem that came out of the poop. That is the freaking our political system right now. You get to go and see a gem and you're like, this is pretty, this is lovely. Don't shit on the gem. Clean it up and be like, and put it on a pedestal and be like, this is pretty. I like this. I want to see more of this.
Okay. Starr, we're not going to get into comparing Kamala and Trump again. We already went through that, but I feel like we heavily debunked the claim that Harris is somehow more the heavier evil when compared to Trump. I think we thoroughly debunked that, but people can go back to the tape on that. To keep things fresh here,
I do have something I want to say real quick.
Okay.
Michael Vick did nothing wrong. All right.
All right.
Sorry, I had to make that joke.
From the peanut
Jesus
gallery.
Fuck.
So let's to keep things fresh, let's go to this issue of like Trump is always big on like, I'm going to use tariffs. Tariffs are going to do it, man. You just watch the tariffs. They're going to be so beautiful. The gold is coming back to us. But there are some issues, of course, with tariffs for anyone who even has a cursory understanding of how tariffs work in the global economic network. So I'm going to read a little bit of this again, just quickly, and then let's talk about Trump and his tariffs and see what we can make of this. So Trump has been talking a lot about implementing new tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China, effective the first day in office to address the trade imbalances. Now, that sounds great to a lot of people. They're like, yeah, we need more out of the trade. Yeah, that sounds great. At least he's doing something about it. But let's look at what happens with tariffs and what often does happen. So the imposition of tariffs often leads to increased costs for consumers in the imposing country, as businesses typically pass on the added cost wherever they're coming from of imported goods to consumers. So just a few quick points on that. There's 5 quick points here. Price increases for imported goods. When tariffs are placed on imports, the cost of those goods rises. For example, if a tariff is placed on electronics from China, American retailers may increase prices to offset the additional cost, directly impacting consumers who purchase those products. Number 2, domestic production costs. Many American businesses rely on imported materials to produce goods domestically. Tariffs on these materials increase production costs, including to higher prices for the final products. And then an example would be steel tariffs could raise costs for American car manufacturers, resulting in more expensive cars. 3, potential benefits for domestic producers. Tariffs are often designed to protect domestic industries by making imported goods less competitive. This can encourage consumers to buy domestic products, lead to job growth or stabilization in industry competing with imports. So those 2 first things are what people always focus on. They're like, oh yeah, this is going to encourage consumers to buy products here. It's going to lead to job growth here and stabilization in industries competing with imports. Yay! But what they forget is if domestic producers raise their prices due to reduced competition from the imports, consumers might not, and almost always do not, see savings. Retaliatory tariffs. Number 4, other countries may respond with tariffs on American goods, reducing demand for U.S. exports. This can hurt the industries like agriculture and manufacturing, leading to lower incomes for American producers and potential job losses in export-dependent sectors. And last one, number 5, the economic debate behind this. Economists often debate the long-term effects. So the proponent argument is that tariffs can rebuild domestic industries and reduce dependency on foreign goods. The critics suggest, though, that there is a hidden tax on consumers by doing this and can lead to inefficient resource allocation, higher inflation, and slower economic growth. So let me put this to the room. What does everyone think about this idea that like tariffs are how we're going to shift the trade balance? And let's go to Nate first because we haven't heard from Nate yet.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I hope everyone's having a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Hi Travis. I'll just if I can, putting on my politics hat, I think this is a bunch of bullshit BS. Sorry for folks in the live stream. I think there are negative externalities around, having completely unchecked trade. And like for like a country like China, it's really easy for them to scale exports without investing in innovation, without really thinking about investing in society in the way that we in the West would have appreciated them to do that. You see things like competition for resources, for energy, all these sort of negative externalities. But historically, the way this has been managed is we sort of work together and figure out if we put the sort of competition to the side and that's the thing that's in the other room, we figure out what's best. And my feeling is that U.S. ambassadors to China or to Canada for some reason, can they can clear a room and say like, hey, well, are you guys actually doing okay? There's 2 billion Chinese. If you are able to, if you're just selling, $200 guitars all day, or out of the factory they're $175 or something. Is this giving you guys the results that you need? Because it's kind of, in some ways, it's hurting us a little bit. It's hurting the things we want to be able to go do. And so, like a 25% tariff is very much like a blunt force instrument. And it's very Donald Trump, I think. Not that I don't know that. And sorry, just my opinion. Donald Trump doesn't necessarily have like a doctrine in trade or in economics, but it's very Donald Trump. And like, let's cut to the core of the issue. And so, just my one point, I'll say, my opinion is that we're already at the core of the issue. We've been at the core of the issue. And I think there's plenty of other ways that aren't 25% tariffs in the United States and China to accomplish the same thing. It's very unpredictable.
Right. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate that. Anyone else on tariffs? What do you guys think? Do you really think that these tariffs are all of a sudden going to be achieve this trade imbalance?
No, I don't think that adding tariffs is really going to change much. I think if we really want better lives for Americans in the United States, which I'm hoping is the point of tariffs. Otherwise, it's just propping up businesses that happen to be in the U.S. But if we're actually worried about American lives, what we need to do is worry about the inflation of the U.S. dollar, that cost of getting a loan, so like interest, and by that, like how much it costs to go to college. And what was the other thing I said? Oh, paying people what their value is, not paying people shit wages. One thing I see a lot about people criticizing Trump, which I'm not a Trump fan, but they're like, oh, he's going to introduce tariffs and kick out all of the undocumented workers. So now we're going to have to start paying more for our products because we're not paying undocumented workers slave wages. How horrible. Well, maybe we shouldn't be paying people slave wages in the first place. I'm not saying we should kick them out of the country, but to say, oh, we're going to kick out this slave labor domestically in the U.S. and your shirt is going to cost 30% more. Oh, you're so stupid. Like, no, that's not the metric we should be going by. It should be, how do we improve people's lives in the U.S.? I don't think that tariffs is going to do it. So I don't think that Trump doing a tariff tax on China of 25% is really going to change much. And I really don't think it, but at the same time, I don't think it's a bad thing to tariff China because there is a lot of slave labor or underpaid labor over there. And if we tariff them a little bit more, I don't think that it's going to stop the slave labor, but we're going to be buying less stuff from over there. And ideally, more stuff here domestically that we're paying people good wages for. Maybe it'll help in the calculus, but either way, the tariffs aren't the end-all be-all solution.
All right, thanks, CJ. Anyone else?
I really, really, really hate China, and I love the U.S., so I would love to see an increase in, I don't know what you call it, domestic industry and production, but it's like, I don't think tariffs are the solution because it's like, whoa, if you increase the price of something, the price is going to increase. Who would have thunk? And with how much people are struggling already, making things however percent more expensive just isn't a way to do it. So I think you need to find a way to increase domestic manufacturing and production like gradually. You can't just hit them with a 25% tariff. You got to do it slowly over time to bring the manufacturing back.
I think that was Goji who was speaking. Yeah, let's go to Lou. Go ahead, Lou. Thanks.
Does it? So what does he plan to do with the tariff money? So like going along that guy who just talked point, what if he uses that money to like expand domestic manufacturing and business? Wouldn't that be possibly a good trade-off?
I know, because the U.S. hasn't been competitive, and it's largely because of labor costs in the United States. You can say that like if it funds the U.S. has remained pretty competitive in sort of some luxury manufacturing and like high tech manufacturing, but you're never going to change basically like what a like the average consumer spend per month. That's never going to change, and so wages are never really going to change.
And one thing, Lou, that I was reading about, like there's historical precedent to show us that the reason why people say that tariffs are really just going to result in a tax on the people, you might as well just tax the people and use those funds to improve something domestically rather than going the roundabout way where you're affecting other issues, like in almost all circumstances with regards to trade and how that affects the economy. If you want to improve infrastructure or business or whatever internally, domestically, just tax the people and say that's what you're doing. Don't do it through this roundabout way of like, we're increasing tariffs on China, but in the end, it's going to affect the American people's what they're paying for goods.
Well, at least you have a choice on what you buy. I mean, a tax, you don't have a choice.
All right.
Yeah, there's no choice, but like consumers can already choose what they want to buy in the United States. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's also
you can already look up product information online.
Yeah, but buy whatever you want. Applies to everybody.
It's my mic.
But Lou, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't it be a lie if like the goal was to like extract money from the American people through what is being sold to be Chinese tariffs? Wouldn't it be just more honest governing to say, okay, we need to improve our country and we need to increase taxes. This is where we're going to spend the money to invest in the future for our people.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying, I understand what Nate's saying too with the labor. Like you can't really, that's a variable that's hard to eliminate, but at least this way you're kind of doing two things at once. You're moving two forces instead of one. Like you're incentivizing people to maybe not buy as much of that stuff, and maybe it stimulates domestic manufacturing. So it's like two forces at once.
So there's a problem with what you just said, because meanwhile, if you encourage people to buy local, right? And that becomes the thing. Because of the capitalist model in the United States, there's going to be a bit of a scarcity increase, right? There's going to be more competition for product domestically. So and businesses know that they're going to be able to charge a bit more because there is this new movement of buying local. It happens in small communities around in Canada all the time, where it's just like there's this culture being spread around of like, don't drive 60 minutes to the closest Walmart. Drive 5 minutes to your local grocery store and do your grocery shopping there.
Poor people can't do that.
At that local
grocery,
exactly.
Wait a second. I got something to say.
Exactly, F. And that local grocery store, you're buying a head of lettuce for like $12.
It's
poor
fair.
people can't do that, but who's the one spending the bulk of the money?
Well, I think the one spending the bulk of the money is some mysterious person in a dark cloak in the next room who's always saying, "Oh, you don't know enough. You don't know enough. You don't know enough to do this." Right? And it's like, I don't mean to be like sound like QAnon or like share, like it's not a riddle. It's just that I think my interpretation is that the sort of like really far like 1% right that has adopted this mindset has been looking for a justification to do this forever, and it's just never true. This weird stupid idea that like you need to like know more about the economy to have an opinion about it doesn't make any sense.
No, this is an attack on the poor people. Let's be honest. This entire thing is about transferring money from the very rich, from the very poor to the very rich. That's Trump's entire MO. His tariff plan is an attack on the poor people. Poor people buy imported stuff more than anybody else. You got to look at this as a class thing if you want to get to a solution. And as far as if it's a good thing or if it's
what
a bad
money?
thing,
How much money do the poor people hold? What are you even talking about?
what am I talking
It's
about?
not about how much. It's not about how much they
What am I
hold.
talking about? I'm talking about the poor people that aren't going to have any money.
What do
to
you
buy
define
food.
as poor?
Poor is people that don't have enough money to do whatever they want. Okay, they can't put their kids to college. They can't buy a car. They can't put food on the table. They go live paycheck to paycheck. What do you mean? What is poor? You think it's some abstract idea?
Yes, poor. It depends on how you define it. Yeah, some people think middle class people are poor.
I think it is subjective as well.
Okay, well then, to a billionaire, 100 millionaire person is poor, but that's nonsense.
Yeah, but
I'm just asking you a question. You don't have
Everything
to get
is
mad.
relative. What kind of argument is anybody could be poor to somebody else? That's absurd.
Where's your why do we have a poverty line for a reason? I'm just asking what your definition of poor is.
Yeah,
Poor people are the people that shop at Walmart and have to.
I shopped at Walmart today. I wouldn't say I'm poor.
No, I said the people that have to, the people that can't afford the $12 head of lettuce. It's not abstract. There's poor people in the world, a lot of them.
So
Most people.
As we think about this idea that what Trump's doing might in fact be a war on the less wealthy or the lower class or middle class. I want to read some things on the insights into how tariffs have historically impacted U.S. inflation. So as recently as 2018 to 2020, the U.S.-China trade war, the impact on inflation. Research from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York estimated that tariffs on Chinese goods increased U.S. consumer prices by approximately 0.3 to 0.4 percentage points. And then the household cost studies from Harvard University and University of Chicago found that the tariff costs U.S. households on average of $500 to $800 annually. Steel and aluminum tariffs 2018, price increases in manufacturing. A study by the Peterson Institute of International Economics reported that steel tariffs raised prices for U.S. manufacturers by 9 to 10%. Here's the broader economic impact of steel and aluminum tariffs. The National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, found that tariffs led to reduced investments and higher prices in the auto and construction industries.
Sorry to come in a little hot, Travis. This is also BS. I'm just going to voice this in case anyone needs to hear it. That it's, when people talk about the death of U.S. manufacturing, and when I say people, I mean it's purely like these pay-per-click pundits. America's always competed based on quality, based on having the superior product in the marketplace, and America has always found a reason to fill those gaps, right? And so, this is one of the things that people think it's immature to yell about this, but wake up. If someone asks you, if you're a business owner and someone asks you, what are you doing? And you're saying, well, I'm kind of finding, where I'm going to fit into this weird, funky marketplace. That is the smartest question that a person can ask.
Yeah, but how does that?
So I just want to voice that Trump's responding to a non-problem.
Okay, well, I still think it's important to go through the data on tariffs, but I hear your point.
Travis.
Yeah, just wait. Let me get through this, and then we can jump in. There's a few more points here. More on historical tariffs here. The Smooth Hawley Tariff Act, which raised duties on imports during the Great Depression, disrupted global trade, but had limited direct impact on inflation due to that's not really an important point. And this is on retaliatory tariffs and supply chain effects. Global trade disruption. A World Bank study highlighted that retaliatory tariffs during trade disputes often lead to higher global commodity prices and disrupt supply lines. And then the impact on agriculture is a big one. So U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, reports documented losses to American farmers from retaliatory tariffs, leading to higher domestic food prices. So this was done by USDA Economic Research Services. And then the general analysis is and then the IMF, which is this, and I'll post this stuff for you guys. It's this working paper document. It was a comprehensive overview by the International Monetary Fund. The IMF explained the mechanisms by which tariffs increase consumer prices and contribute to inflation. So, I mean, it's hard to find, like, there seems to be this pipe dream of tariffs, like, doing this magical thing of, like, you know, we need our fair share, so we're going to implement tariffs. It's hard for me to find anywhere that this has actually achieved what it said to achieve, or what it's hoped to achieve. But
well, the Nobel laureates say it's achieved the opposite, right? Isn't that a consensus among all Nobel laureates, economists?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So
let's go with the experts.
But unfortunately,
go back to World War II.
Well, but
go back to World War II, and tariffs were a critical part of that, of the equation that we put together.
All right. Well, I'm done. I'm done. Nate, you literally won't let anyone else speak.
Go ahead,
but
Star.
I never got to respond to CJ. I tried, but I'm going to tell you one thing, and that is China. China is using our postal system for free. And that's how Temu and companies like them and Alibaba is able to give you things so damn cheaply, is because they are abusing one of our systems. Maybe, just maybe, all of this stuff about tariffs, not tariffs, maybe we need to handle that first.
So
the fact that they are capable of using our postal system for free.
China does not use the United States Postal Service for free.
Yeah, that would be impossible.
However, the rates China Post pays to USPS for delivering mail and small packages have historically been below the actual delivery costs incurred by the USPS. The discrepancy stems from the terminal dues system established by the UPU, which sets the fees Postal Service charge each other for cross-border delivery. So the claim that China does not.
Okay.
So they don't use it for free, but they're, you know, they almost. Like the USPS is losing money in a lot of cases on China's usage of the system. And then in response to these imbalances, the UPU held an extraordinary Congress, extraordinary Congress in 2019, where member countries agreed to allow nations to self-declare their terminal dues rates subject to certain conditions. The United States advocated for and secured the ability to set its own rates starting in July 2020, aiming to ensure the payments more accurately reflecting delivery costs. As of December 2024, China Post pays USPS rates that are more aligned with the actual costs of delivery, thanks to the reform implemented by the UPU. So if I wouldn't have read this, Star, I assume you're going to change your belief on this after that. But
okay, yeah. First of all, I've been trying to talk over Nate.
Okay,
for so often that I literally pressure speeched it in order to get it out before I got spoke over. That's what happened.
Okay, well,
I'm sorry. I didn't. But my point. But what I'm trying to say. And I'm glad that back in 2019, so maybe my information is a little outdated. I'm glad that back in 2019 they fixed it.
But it was never the case, Star.
Oh my God, can I? I'm sorry.
I'm going to give you the stage. I'm going to give you the stage, but I just wanted to make it clear that it was never the case that China was using the USPS for free, from what I can tell. Just
okay.
Yeah.
From my understanding, what it is, Tencent and all the different little corporations, Alibaba, stuff like that. Basically, China, there was a point in which they used to claim that they were a third world nation and therefore deserved all kinds of subsidies when it came to postage. And there was a reason for that. That was because we're like, well, we want to make things fair so that third world countries can compete and give their products to more developed countries and where it's actually possible for them to succeed. China abused the system. And it's I guess you named it the EUU. And thank you for bringing it up because I don't have an AI and I'm literally speaking from memory.
UPU,
but okay, the UPU. It's a group in which goes and says the world postage system needs to be fair so that third world nations can compete. China called themselves a third world nation and was basically using that system in order to abuse it to give us stuff cheaper than our own companies could ship things. And to this day, maybe it's not as bad, but to this day, Tencent and all of these different companies still abuse it. That stuff that comes in your little orange bags at the door, all taped up and stuff, because they are getting massive discounts. And I'm sorry I spoke over, it was just like, my biggest problem is just the fast fashion and cheap products in general. All of the consumerism that ends up in landfills, and not only that, but what it causes, where it exploits other human beings, where they don't get a living wage for creating quality products. And they are treated like, and I don't want China to be able to abuse our system so that they can hurt their own people.
Well, isn't China...
Star, can I respond to you? Can we have a conversation?
2 seconds, Nate. I just have one thing and then we'll go to Nate.
Okay.
How much of that is on China and how much is it on the consumerist populace of the United States of America?
Oh, I agree. I just believe in I believe in ethical purchases. I believe in paying attention to where your things come from and how the system's being abused. I believe it's okay, and I'm a very broke person. Very broke. But I still believe it's okay to try to buy quality over quantity, and you don't need 90 different outfits.
Yeah. Well, Nate's next, and then we'll get F. It looks like F wants to read a quote, so we'll go Nate, and then F, and then CJ.
Yeah, I mean, I would just to echo what Star is saying. My only point where maybe I see it slightly differently is it used to be the case. That we could talk about free market capitalism, and we would see imbalances in trade. We would see imbalances in wealth, and a lot of people could believe that a better future was being built, even if it was piecemeal. I think that, part of my disagreement with Trump's tariffs is also the fact that in a case like this, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't, me personally, I don't have optimism about being able to look at what I see as unjust systems, whether they're economic or otherwise, and think people are making something better out of it. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yep. Thank you. F, you had a quote to read?
Let me find it. My screen shut down. I'll let you know when I find it.
Yeah.
F, do you mind if I just say my quick blurb while you're looking for it?
I have no problem with that.
Okay. I just kind of wanted to agree with Star and the idea that, we're going to end up spending 30% more on our domestic goods because they're built or made here or imported and tariffed. I don't give a shit. As long as less people are being abused financially or otherwise in their workplace, that's a good thing. I don't care if I'm paying 30% more on my products. And also, this idea, one thing pops into my mind when she... Huh?
Socialist. No, I'm kidding.
Be careful what you ask for.
It's not necessarily a taxes. I mean, I don't like the tariff thing because of the taxes part. But yeah, I don't have an issue with being called a socialist if the socialist is doing a good thing, right? But another thing that she brought up is kind of like with the Tencent, right? You can pay a programmer in China probably much less than you pay a programmer in the US. But if you're selling a game to the US, you're still getting paid US dollars. You're still getting paid US discretionary fund amounts. So I think that's why we see things like Tencent and these, more Asian companies that are paying people less to make games where they get U.S. discretionary funds out of it. And tariffs aren't going to touch that at all. So all we're talking about is domestic manufacturing, not coding and tech, which is going to be a really big thing coming up pretty soon, if not right now.
Yeah, but I mean, the
Tencent and everything, including that. Yeah.
And that took us 30 years almost. That took us like 30 years of actually trying to normalize U.S. good prices in basically in U.S. You know, you can still find cheap products, but China knows when they make cheap products, and the people in the U.S. who sell those products,
yes,
that are good products and cheap products, know they're selling cheap products. And so, you know, that's like, to me, that's a problem that we can work on, is where it's like, well, you know, if the manufacturing process or, you know, whatever it is, you know, if it's not great and that's how we're opening, then like, let's talk about that. But let's not do stuff we get nothing out of.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
I found it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Simon Johnson, and he, I guess, was a Nobel economist. He said there's two layers to what Trump is proposing. The one is that he highlights the tariffs. He calls himself a tariff man, that he's going to put high tariffs on everyone, especially China. This is a really bad idea. It's not a bad idea in a complicated way. It's a bad idea in a very simple way, which is that low-income Americans have a high import content of their consumption. It's just a matter of arithmetic. There's no complicated economics here. If you raise the price of imported goods, there's a hit to all the incomes of Americans, but more so to lower income Americans. It's terrible. It's stupid. And pointless negotiating tactics, because a tariff is a tax on your own consumers.
Yes.
You're threatening to tax your own consumers in a way they would obviously hate and resist. You're not going to do it, so it's pointless rhetoric. And then the question is, what's the second layer? And Johnson says, why are the billionaires rallying around Trump? Why do we see Elon Musk, Howard Lutnick from Cantor Fitzgerald, and John Paulson, and so on? Well, one thing to note is the import content of consumption for rich people is quite low. So actually, he's not threatening their pocketbooks at all with the tariff thing. You know, so what I was saying wasn't crazy for anybody who thought it was. I'm no expert, but Simon Johnson is, so you should take notice what he's saying.
Yeah. No, and that covers just another version of what we've been talking about, with how, you know, and someone else brought up that you know, that it's a tax on people who have less, because people who have less are going to be buying the cheaper things in the market, and a lot of the cheaper things are being imported and sold in the United States. So yeah,
Can we just also say the motivation is purely political?
Well, he's a politician.
Is that not a well, yeah.
I mean, I think the motivation to be like, we're going to tariff the shit out of them. That sounds like you're really giving it to another country that has supposedly been ripping you off. So, you know, there's a lot of rhetorical power in that, especially when targeting people who are far less educated than the conversation we're having today. Like
that sounds exactly.
A lot of people.
It sounds exactly like what Trump would say, though.
What?
Oh, we're going to tariff the shit out of them because they've been screwing us. That's exactly what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm being Trump. I'm saying what Trump is saying.
You thought you were being serious.
I should have done the voice, but I'm sorry. But no, yeah, I'm saying that this has a lot of rhetorical power for people who are vulnerable to that kind of rhetorical power, which is probably most of the Trump voting constituency. Well, they seem to be sold on it.
I'd just like to say,
Elon Musk is sold on it. He's a well-educated man. He believes it.
Well, and I think when you get those big personalities and people who've been outwardly successful, talking in one direction or the other, that's the most important part. Like, I mean, and like this sounds like total BS, but if you're saying, you know, if anyone else is of the persuasion that there's not like a great plan right now, then why not just bring out the big personalities and talk about it? Like, what's the harm? What is the harm?
Yeah,
maybe there is none, but
I would like to see a well-informed critical thinking electorate. But I'm just a big, dumb, moose-riding Canadian. What do I know? But everyone, I didn't want to do too long of a live stream today. I think we covered these two topics thoroughly. Everyone on YouTube, please make sure you drop a like before you leave. This video will be published and available on our YouTube channel. I want to thank everyone who chimed in on this topic. We might do a topic later tonight as well, so keep an eye on the channel, but make sure you're subscribed. Drop a like on this video, and do consider joining us on Discord. We will be moving these conversations down into our off-air voice channels where people can just talk about whatever topics they want. We have lots of different categories of topics. If you want to talk about art, we have an art voice channel. But we also have an online tavern if you're more just looking to generally sit down and shoot the shit. But you can do that in our Discord server, and you are guaranteed, with very rare exception, to get good faith, helpful interactions with your ideas. And if you ever have any issues on the Pangburn Discord server, just at admin, get in touch with admin and let us know what's going on. But thank you all for being here. We just discussed Biden pardons Hunter Biden and Trump tariffs, and we'll see you next time.